The recent decision by the UK, Germany, Australia, and the Philippines to suspend flights to China is sending a ripple through the aviation industry and, perhaps more significantly, through China's economy. This trend raises questions about the factors causing these shifts, considering that, not long ago, China was a top destination for business and leisure travel. As these changes could indicate broader economic and political concerns, one wonders what impact will this have on China's global connectivity and influence. But before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, China Fact. We really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Many international airlines are pulling back from Chinese routes as a response to declining passenger demand, rising operational costs, and complex geopolitical pressures. Chinese airlines, too, have scaled down international routes, marking a notable shift in global aviation. For example, LOT Polish Airlines announced on October 11th that it would suspend its Warsaw-Beijing route for the 2024 to 2025 winter. According to Krzysztof Mulski, a LOT representative, the route struggled with weak demand, rendering it less competitive when compared to shorter routes from other airlines. The LOT Warsaw-Beijing route was previously halted due to the pandemic, but resumed in December last year. This direct flight from Warsaw Chopin Airport to Beijing Capital International Airport operated weekly. However, LOT Polish Airlines joins the ranks of 4 other European carriers recently suspending services to China, with its last Beijing-bound flight scheduled for October 25th. Just days earlier, on October 9th, Scandinavian Airlines, SA, announced it would end its Copenhagen to Shanghai route on November 10th, attributing the decision to challenging market conditions. SAS emphasized China remains vital to its strategy and that it will continue assessing prospects for a potential return to the route. SAS's move also means an exit from mainland China, having already ceased flights to both Hong Kong and Beijing. Impacted travelers have been offered 3 options: accepting an alternative flight, switching flights free of charge, or obtaining a full refund. Known for affordable fares for young travelers, particularly students, SA was a favored option for Europeans studying in Asia. Nonetheless, many of these students now face ticket cancellations, with few options left but to rebook or request refunds. Analysts attribute these flight suspensions to restrictions that prevent airlines from North America and Europe from flying over Russian airspace, which has increased both flight durations and costs. Redirecting resources from China-bound routes to more lucrative ones appears unavoidable for some airlines. Over the past 3 months, 3 additional European airlines have either suspended or reduced flights to China. In late September, Lufthansa decided to end its Frankfurt-Beijing route in late October, citing economic considerations. However, Lufthansa will continue operating a daily Munich-Beijing service using a more modern, fuel-efficient Airbus A350 aircraft, as opposed to the older Airbus A340 previously used on the Frankfurt route. Similarly, British Airways announced in early August that its London-Beijing service would pause at the end of October, with a reassessment set for November 2025. However, flights to Shanghai will still operate during this period. In mid-July, Virgin Atlantic Airways also confirmed the suspension of its London-Shanghai route starting October 26. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, Western airlines heavily invested in China, anticipating steady demand from affluent Chinese travelers. However, the pandemic drastically cut flights, and even after China reopened in 2023, demand has struggled to bounce back to its former levels. Since Russia's large-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, European airlines have been restricted from accessing Russian airspace. This restriction has forced airlines to reroute flights to China via longer, more expensive paths, adding to operational expenses. However, Chinese airlines retain the advantage of accessing Russian airspace, allowing them to maintain more cost-efficient routes. This disparity has affected not only European but also several Asia-Pacific airlines, leading them to reevaluate their routes to China. For instance, on September 10th, AirAsia Philippines announced that it would cancel all flights between Manila and mainland China this year, citing low demand, and would pivot toward the Japanese market instead. Additionally, the Philippines Department of Tourism released a statement on October 3rd encouraging local airlines to reassess flight routes to China, reflecting a broader trend. A combination of sluggish international travel demand from China, a slowing economy, and persistent geopolitical frictions has intensified this trend. By 2019, flights to China represented 30% of AirAsia Philippines' total passenger load, connecting around 7 cities. However, by 2023, routes had decreased to just 4 cities, and by mid-year, only 2 routes were operational. By the end of August, all flights to China had been discontinued. In a similar move, Royal Brunei Airlines disclosed in mid-July that it would cease Beijing flights from October 27. The airline stated it would continue monitoring market conditions to resume routes when demand picks up. At the same time, Qantas Airways in Australia decided in mid-May to discontinue flights from Sydney to Shanghai from July 28, attributing this choice to low market demand, though it expressed a willingness to revisit the route once conditions improve. Despite halting China routes, Australian airlines are opening new paths to Manila and increasing flights to Singapore, demonstrating a shift in focus within the region. In the United States, major carriers like United, Delta, and American Airlines have similarly scaled back flights to China. Delta, which had initially planned to resume a Los Angeles-Shanghai round-trip route in the fall, subsequently scrapped those plans. Some airlines, instead of entirely canceling flights to China, are opting to downsize by replacing larger planes with smaller aircraft on select routes. For instance, Emirates has substituted the larger Airbus A380 with the smaller Boeing 777 on some of its China routes. The primary reason behind these adjustments is a marked decline in demand, which has rendered many international flights to China less profitable. Analysts suggest that these developments hint at a notable decline in China's influence on global travel demand. Chinese-American economist David Hong explains that these route cancellations are not short-term measures, but rather part of a long-term strategic shift. Airlines are signaling a reduced confidence in the Chinese market's outlook across short, medium, and long-term perspectives. Hong highlights that in prior years, China's rapidly expanding economy made it a highly attractive destination, drawing significant international interest. Once prized routes to China are now viewed as unprofitable, reflecting a decline in China's tourism and investment appeal, and revealing the economic strain on its domestic market. Similarly, Chinese economist Dr. Lai Wei emphasizes that the decision to cancel flights to China is not merely a response to current conditions but reflects a long-term strategic shift by airlines. He suggests this indicates a change in global investment sentiment, with many investors seeking more stable alternative markets. Previously, China was an attractive destination for tourism and investment due to its strong economic growth, but now economic stagnation and strict control policies have diminished its appeal. In a recent commentary, Radio Free Asia observed that just 5 years ago, China was among the world's top travel destinations, drawing business travelers and international tourists alike. This bustling interest underscored China's prominent role on the world stage and its substantial influence. When the COVID-19 pandemic emerged, global air travel plummeted almost overnight. Though flights eventually resumed, routes to China have yet to reach pre-pandemic frequencies. In June this year, global international air traffic reached 5.35 million passengers, a substantial 112% increase from the previous year, yet flights to China remained exceptionally low. In July, flights between the US and China operated just 24% of their July 2019 levels, with seats filled at only 25% of their previous capacity. Estimates show that flights between the US and China are still operating at a fraction of pre-pandemic volumes. Assuming flights were near full capacity before, monthly passenger numbers are down by approximately 93.7%, with only 6.3% of the previous traveler volume remaining. Many current passengers are Chinese Americans returning to visit family, but a large number of Chinese students studying in the US opted not to go back to China over the summer, largely due to concerns about potential visa issues upon returning to the US. U.S.-China flights are a crucial indicator of bilateral relations, as China depends heavily on the US for export revenue and technological resources. A drop in passenger numbers hints at a chilling effect on U.S.-China relations. The frequency of flights from the US to Taiwan underscores this trend. Despite China's population of 1.4 billion compared to Taiwan's 23.5 million, flights between the US and Taiwan are double those to China. In December, there were 143 weekly passenger flights between North America and Taiwan, while China had only 70. This April, US Airlines formally requested that the US Department of Transportation limit further increases in U.S.-China flights, citing decreased interest from both business and leisure travelers. Furthermore, international flights originating from China were down by 23% this July compared to 2019, and foreign tourism to China has only reached 30% of pre-pandemic levels. Professor Sang from Taiwan's National University pointed out that international flights are essential for business, tourism, and cultural exchanges, and that reduced flights could hurt China's trade, investment, and business prospects. China's outbound tourism is also expected to suffer, hindering economic growth further. Sun, another expert, highlighted China's diminishing appeal globally, which has become more pronounced since the pandemic as several nations fast-tracked their efforts to decouple from China. Flight suspensions by various countries reflect an evolving global view of China's role in the world economy. Famous economist C.H. Xiaonong added that fewer flights not only mean fewer incoming visitors to China, but also a decrease in Chinese travelers abroad. The reduction in outbound Chinese travelers is attributed to economic limitations, as many lack the means to travel internationally. Adding to these challenges, restrictions on passport issuance have kept many in the education, healthcare, and media sectors from leaving the country. To attract the dwindling pool of passengers, Chinese airlines are offering ticket discounts, leading to significant losses in the first half of the year alone. China's 4 main state-owned airlines reported combined losses of 7 billion yuan. Despite this, airlines remain reluctant to cancel international routes, as doing so could mean permanently losing these routes due to the need for reciprocal agreements with foreign airlines. Amidst the reshuffling of international flights, the Chinese airline sector is currently undergoing a significant restructuring phase. The government has mandated that various cities withdraw financial support for international routes, leading to a notable drop in flight availability. In late August, China's Civil Aviation Administration, in conjunction with the National Development and Reform Commission, released guidelines aimed at establishing international aviation hubs structured within a 3-7 framework. The first tier, labeled 3, includes Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou, which are recognized as major international air travel gateways. The second tier, denoted by S, includes regional gateways such as Chongqing, Shenzhen, Chengdu, Xi'an, Urumqi, and Harbin. The final category, N, pertains to a variety of regional hubs spread across the country. These guidelines stipulate that local governments are prohibited from offering subsidies for international routes that do not connect to the designated 3-7 cities. As a result, cities not included in this framework will not receive financial support for international flights. Reports indicate that many Chinese cities are experiencing declining occupancy rates for international flights, leading to underutilized routes. For example, the Nanning-Sydney route has an average occupancy rate of about 50%, peaking at 60% in its best year, 2020. Industry experts assert that a minimum occupancy rate of 60% is necessary for profitability in China's aviation sector. Besides Nanning, flights from cities like Chengdu, Wuhan, and Hangzhou to Sydney have also reported occupancy rates below 50%, with the Guangzhou-Sydney route dropping as low as 26.8%. These routes have been termed flying empty seats due to insufficient demand. Despite these challenges, many cities continue to operate international routes, even relying on subsidies. As of September 6th, aside from Hong Kong, Macau, and the 10 designated hub cities, China operates 280 international routes connecting 48 cities. In August, the Civil Aviation Administration approved 307 applications for new international routes from non-primary cities, including connections from Hezhou to Seoul, Wuxi, Tokyo, and Ordos to Jeju. These routes were often initiated during the aviation expansion before the pandemic, aimed at promoting local visibility and global engagement. A spokesperson from an airport noted that having direct flights to Europe or the US can improve a secondary city's reputation and attract foreign investment. According to data from the Asia-Pacific Aviation Research Center, CAPA, Chinese airlines initiated 24 intercontinental routes from 2007 to 2013, but this number soared to 78 between 2014 and 2018, indicating a significant increase in international connectivity. However, The question remains, how can these numerous routes endure amid dwindling demand? The reliance on local subsidies appears to be a crucial factor. Statistics show that in 2016 and 2017, the Chinese government and the Civil Aviation Administration allocated over 10 billion yuan in subsidies for international routes. Given the current landscape, there is growing concern that numerous international flights may soon face cancellations. Additionally, China's 4 largest airlines are reporting significant financial losses. Recent findings indicate that China Eastern Airlines is likely to reduce its net loss to between 3.3 billion and 3.8 billion yuan in the first 6 months of the year. After this, Air China anticipates a net loss ranging from 2.3 billion to 3 billion yuan, while China Southern Airlines and Hainan Airlines announced losses between 820 million and 1.58 billion yuan. China Eastern Airlines attributed these losses to various factors, including restrictions on local flight rights, limited airport resources in key markets, and enhanced competition in the domestic sector. Additionally, soaring jet fuel prices have further pressured profitability. Du Wen, a former legal advisor for the Inner Mongolian government, remarked that the pandemic nearly devastated the aviation sector, with current airline losses reflecting deeper, systemic issues rather than mere temporary setback. Airlines are grappling with multiple challenges this year, including rising international oil prices that have significantly escalated costs. Currency fluctuations have also compounded expenses, as fuel costs and airport fees are generally billed in US dollars, resulting in higher costs for international operations. In addition, the post-pandemic recovery has been slow, lacking the anticipated demand surge. The major airlines continue to struggle, engaging in fierce price competition instead of collaboration, which further erodes profit margins. Du Wen also noted an increase in nationalism and anti-foreign sentiment in China, discouraging foreign investment. This deteriorating political climate is perceived as unsafe for international partners, leading to fewer global interactions. Furthermore, strict regulations limiting overseas travel for government employees have strongly reduced passenger numbers. While airlines expand their fleets, the declining number of passengers has resulted in substantial financial losses. Losses are only one aspect of the situation. The potential next steps could include restructuring, consolidation, or even bankruptcy for many firms in the sector. Finally, if you enjoy insightful content about China, subscribe to our channel, China Fact. Please like and share this video with friends so we can explore more exciting aspects together. Thank you for your support.